Hello, my name is Nitzan Ben Shaul from Tel Aviv University, and this is my video presentation of a paper called The Drama-Driven Model of Interaction and Optional Thinking Epistemology in the Interactive Film Turbulence, Ben Shaul, 2009. Interactive films are defined here as an audiovisual narrative flow aimed at creating drama along with its characterizing suspense, curiosity, and surprise. Interaction is defined as an audiovisual alignment that allows the interactor to intervene or steer the story progression in different ways by voice recognition or touch screen options, etc. Interaction forms an added layer comparable to the addition of sound to silent movies. As with the addition of a soundtrack, an added interactive layer to the sound and image layers creates new narrative forms and audiovisual compositions. These new narrative forms include a new database narrative form discussed by Lev Manovich, often expressed through new digital-enabled audiovisual compositions such as morphing. However, adding an interactive layer poses a series of challenges which concern the need to script, direct, edit, and design a coherent work when the story, the characters, the drama may not engender immersion due to out-of-fiction interactive actions. Hence, story multi-bifurcation upon interaction impedes the cognitive processing of the story logic. Likewise, interactive actions may obstruct the narrative flow, thereby leading to users' split attention and miscomprehension. This study suggests a solution to these common problems through the drama-driven model of interaction implemented in the interactive movie Turbulence. I would like to discuss 4 interaction models. The first one is the gaming interaction dominant model, we should say. Now, gaming interaction often obstructs drama-driven immersion because of the tendency to conflate the non-complementary trajectories of drama and gaming. This often results in split attention because of conflicting expectations. Thus, while gamers expect rules, avatar control, point scoring, and acquirement of gaming skills, drama requires uncertainty, loss of control, and following the lives of others. This incompatibility explains why writing good war stories does not turn one into a chess player, while knowing chess does not turn one into a general. I suggest that the gaming interaction model reduces the potential of both gaming and dramatic engagement. This sought-after conflation engenders in the viewer split attention between gaming and drama. Consider cutaway scenes to non-interactive film or animation segments in games. The second model I would like to discuss is the sensual immersion-based interaction model. This model obstructs drama-driven immersion because drama immersion does not stem from sensual immersion, but from focused attention. While immersion is often attributed to suspension of disbelief and to the notion of presence within the fiction, both these attributions have been put under serious doubt. Carol Noel has questioned whether it is possible to willingly suspend a proposition one believes is true, whereas I suggest that the fallacy of presence within the fiction consists in jumping from a sensation to a state of mind. Thus, when immersed in water, do I believe myself a fish? Do I need water to imagine myself a fish? In fact, there is no need to hold irrational beliefs to undergo an emotion. Imagining something as feasible may also engender emotion. This is discussed by Noel Carroll in his paper on the paradox of suspense, the notion of imagination. The sensual immersion interaction model we've been discussing informs particularly VR production virtual reality, but it would be wrong to assume that the participant forgets herself. VR immersion is good for spatial exploration, but not particularly effective for dramatic narrative deployment, because in VR, the participant resists restrictions to free exploration, making it difficult to guide the active participant or visitor along a dramatic narrative. Third model I would like to discuss is the multi-bifurcation interaction model. This model often obstructs drama-driven immersion and engenders miscomprehension. Thus, while computers may calculate interactive narrative bifurcations, people cannot comprehensively follow multiple ones due to limited cognitive capacity and split attention. The last model I would like to discuss is my own, and I call it the drama-driven interaction model. This model of interaction is aimed at encouraging the user to interact out of dramatic considerations. My argument in respect of this model is that placing interaction at dramatic junctures, where the viewer of a non-interactive movie or film would want to intervene, but is helpless, may encourage a user to interact out of dramatic considerations when the interaction is placed in a dramatic juncture that in a non-interactive movie would draw the viewer to try and interact in helplessness or be intervening. Now, those considerations leading the user, for example, to interact with such placed interaction could be out of dramatic considerations, such as when presuming interaction will help a favored character reach a decision, or wanting to warn the character of looming danger, or when under moral indignation, usually towards actions of non-favored characters. Furthermore, if drama-driven interaction is with a coherent narrative and coherent audiovisuals, a dramatic progression evoking suspense, surprise, and curiosity will immerse, engage, and be comprehensible to the user as non-interactive popular movies are. Now I'd like to discuss the notion of database narrative and the relation to optional thinking epistemology. The database narrative form is discussed by Lev Manovich and others. As discussed by them, is a new narrative form characterizing some contemporary video games and some complex narrative films. While Manovich discusses this form in respect of the differing interactive game mechanics of the video games Doom and Myst, Manovich, it should be said that the database narrative structure also underlies some contemporary movies, such as Tom Twyker's Run, Lola, Run. This movie consists of 3 different linear narrative trajectories, each with its respective start, end, and restart. Each trajectory starts with Lola running to save within 20 minutes her boyfriend Manny from being killed by criminals he owes money to. Each run leads to a different ending. In the first, Lola gets killed, in the second, Manny is shot dead, and in the third, they both get away with the dead Manny. While each ending restarts a consecutive run, all runs cross a shared database of characters, events, and narrative progressions with relatively few variables. More important, however, is that this database narratives suggest that other trajectories can be outlined across the same database, e.g., Lola, or an open video game player for that matter, may potentially run again and again in slightly different trajectories, at least up until the gamer manages to overcome the required obstacle to advance in the game, otherwise he's stuck in a loop. Anyway, this variability of functions encourages a beneficiary optional thinking epistemology. Now let me explain that. Optional thinking is the cognitive ability or skill to generate and compare alternative hypotheses to explain events. It forms part of the way we think, acquire, and construct knowledge. Not deploying our optional thinking skill in real life may lead to premature acceptance of inadequate hypotheses and can result in dire consequences. The inability to consider optional reasons, solutions, consequences, and perspectives to life problems is largely due to closed-mindedness on certain ideas, thoughts, or prejudicial stereotypes. Conversely, optional thinking skill is beneficial for reduction of closed-minded following of exclusive ideas, since optional thinking questions by its nature exclusive views. A description of one interactive example from the drama-driven interaction model underlying the interactive film Turbulence can instantiate the optional thinking epistemology encouraged in this film. Thus, at a certain point, the husband returns late at night on his way to the bed where his wife is sleeping. He drops on the waistcoat. In his inside pocket, a photograph of him and his lover is partly seen in the dark room. His wife, half asleep, awakens to sip from a nearby glass of water, not noticing the partly seen photo. At this point, the interactor is given the opportunity to slide the photograph in or out of the pocket, deciding thereby whether to reveal or hide from the woman her husband's affair. Upon sliding the photo into the pocket or out of it, the film branches into a scene that follows the interactor's decision to slide the photograph out of the pocket, whereby the wife learns from the revealed photograph of her husband's affair. However, upon an enabled return, a slightly different scene follows the wife who does not know of the affair due to the interactor sliding the photo back into the pocket. In either case, the film continues to a scene where the couple sits in silence for breakfast the following morning. At this point, the interactor maintains two interpretive options to the neutral breakfast scene. In one, the interactor presumes the woman knows, but her husband doesn't know she knows. In the other, he presumes the woman doesn't know. Both optional interpretations continue until the next interaction. I suggest this situation encourages a beneficial optional thinking epistemology derived from Turbulence's drama-driven interactions, and they are drama-driven in this case because the placement of the interaction is at a very dramatic juncture whereby things could be, revealed or not. And it is up to the interactor in a way, by his choice, to decide something in respect of the characters, fate. So in this sense, the whole movie uses interactions in different manners to generate an optional thinking epistemology. Beyond the above instantiation of the process of optional thinking and its encouragement in Turbulence, there are some non-interactive branching plot movies where each branching plots lead to a different resolution, as in Run All Around, we discussed, Sliding Doors, and Rashomon. I suggest that this branching plot structure also encourages optional thinking, because one needs to compare for comprehension the two optional branching plots in how it's 1998 Sliding Doors movie, or he has to assume and compare for comprehension the two optional, he has to assume and compare for comprehension the four optional points of view over the same event as in Kurosawa's 1950 Rashomon. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about an optional thinking test and optional thinking skill improvement, which the works I'm talking about may encourage. Now, the suggestion that database narratives in video games and branching plot films encourages a beneficial optional thinking epistemology garners support from several uses of Platt and Spivak's optional thinking test, OTT, used to measure the degree of optional thinking. The test consists of tasks that require the subject to conceptualize options to hypothetical but typical real-life problems. In the test, subjects are required to offer as many alternative solutions as they can to a lifelike problem. One example given is John wants to watch his favorite TV program, but his friend is watching another program. What can John do so he can have a turn watching TV? E.g., push his friend over, persuade him, or bribe him are some optional answers. Then the researchers scored the results according to the quantity of relevant alternatives offered and gave no score to alternatives that avoided the problem. John could go to a movie, for example, or accidental. The friend will probably change his mind, for example. Optional thinking test measures by highest score the optional thinking skill discussed here. Platt and Spivak's design optional thinking test offers a valid procedure to measure optional thinking skill and has been applied to that end in different research domains. That have been published, and in the paper's bibliography, I will include all relevant references. Now, beyond measuring optional thinking, there are some indications that optional thinking skill can be improved, as shown in a PhD study that measured optional thinking improvement among youth in situations of risk and distress that participated in branching narrative film workshops modeled around database structures. The study has persuasively shown that optional thinking skills significantly improved in comparing optional thinking test results before and after the workshop for the youth in risk participants. Now let me summarize briefly. The evidence above supports the contention made here, whereby database narrative structures encourage a beneficial optional thinking epistemology. This is also implied in the instantiated drama-driven interaction model underlying the interactive movie Turbulence. Thank you very much.